Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to Mosaic Sparks. We go live here twice a month, right? And so this is our first episode here in December. And, this is the holiday month. So for those of you that are watching, happy holidays. Glad that you're able to join us. So in today's episode, have you ever wondered what it takes to build and thrive in three areas: friendship, community, and connection? Well, in this episode, we're going to dive deep in and show you how you can not only just build, because I know a lot of people talk about building community and having friendship relationships, but how do you thrive in those, right? So we're going to dive deep and talk about that today. And my guest is none other than Miss Felicia Ferrell. And her mission is clear: to guide those that feel lost, overwhelmed, or broken through the pressure and challenges that refine them, helping them uncover the brilliant diamond within, right? Because we know that in each and every one of us, we have this incredible purpose, and sometimes it's hidden underneath all these things. So she is like an excavator, right? Going in and getting all those wonderful gems that's hiding within. She teaches her clients that just as a diamond is formed under intense heat and pressure, so too is their resilience forged through life's most difficult moments. In every struggle lies the potential for transformation and growth. Facets that, when polished, reveal their true worth and beauty. Felicia empowers her clients to let their inner diamond, representing strength, clarity, and self-worth, shine unapologetically, illuminating the path. And so, as you know, here on Mosaic Sparks, we speak to visionary women that are resilient and those that have a vision for their life, and not just only for their lives, for others as well. So, without any further ado, I'm going to bring on none other than the executive chick. Good morning, Felicia. How you doing?
Good morning, Miss Leslie. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm here in Florida, and Florida's a little bit cold. We've been getting some cold spells. It's funny because we complain when it's this time of the year and it's not cold, which we normally get about 2 to 3 days, but when it is, we complain too, right? So you just can't.
Yes.
So thank you for being here. So tell the people, our YouTubers, or our sparklers, so that I just came up with that. Our sparklers, those that join us here on YouTube on the Mosaic Sparks platform. Tell our sparklers who you are, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for having me on your show. My name is Felicia Ferrell. I am the executive chick. I'm the founder and the leader of Lead Her in Heels, which is a nonprofit organization that helps women to become leaders, also as children to become leaders. So I have worked with them since year 2018 with that. So I do a multiple things, facet of things. I have the nonprofit, which is the Leader in Heels. I also have a diamond the Diamond Experience coaching platform that I teach women, just what Leslie just described as far as the diamond in you. I am the author and the finisher of the Diamond in You experience. So basically, you have four things that you have to do. You have to have clarity. You have to have the color, which is getting rid of your baggage. You have to have the cut, which is cutting out the negativity. And once you can do all of those things, baby, you have a diamond. So you need to shine.
I'm here talking and my mic is off. Yes, you have a diamond and you need to shine. I love that, right? Because as I said earlier, each and every one of us, we have a purpose. And sometimes, it can take a little bit to find exactly what that purpose is. There's no big deal in that. But the thing is that once you find it, just know that you do have it. And once you find it, and having a coach like Felicia that can help you kind of excavate those things wow, life is beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing. So I'm gonna jump into a question now. How do you define true friendship, and why do you think it's important in today's world? Talk to us
I
about
think
that.
that I think that true friendship is a reciprocation of someone that's going to reciprocate the loyalty, um, honesty, and transparency. I think those are the three things that you really need to have that in order to have a good friendship. I think a lot of times a lot of friendships are one sided. We're usually looking to see what we can get from that particular friend, but it really needs to be reciprocal. It really does.
I like that because we don't always talk about the reciprocal process.
Right.
And that is a principle of whatever you sow, that's what you're going to reap, right? So even in friendship, in that type of relationship, it should be a reciprocal process. Besides that, what are some other qualities that you think really makes a healthy friendship relationship? What are some other qualities that actually can make that strong and lasting, right? So it's not a fly by night type of friendship or very surface type of friendship, but something that really holds and can last the test of time.
I believe that when you go through some trials and tribulations with your friend and they are still on the other end through that trial and tribulation, I believe that that's building and testing the strength of your friendship. A lot of times, like you just said, we're on the surface. We have surface level friendships, but when you dig deep down inside and you realize that you are able to help bring this other person through the storms, whether they are going through, I don't know, maybe a divorce, maybe they've lost a child, maybe they lost their job. When you can actually still be there for that person through the thick and the thin, I think that is the beginning of building onto that friendship. And being honest with your friend, being honest with your friend, letting them know that you are having some issues, and testing it, really testing and seeing if this person is going to be who they say they're going to be. And a lot of times what we find out is that at the end they are not who they say they are, and then they disappear when times and things get tough.
Yeah, wow, that is so good and juicy. And I think you and I shared something with you a while ago that even as young children, right? Because I remember when my kids were young, they would come home from school and they would tell me and their father, I have this, that friend, this, and all the other friends, and we would say they're not your friends.
Right.
And at a young age, to tell children that, that's kind of hard. But now that they've grown up, they realize, yeah, it's not about. A lot of people think it's about quality. I mean, quantity. It's not about quantity. It's really about quality. And I remember as a young girl growing up, I would hear, if you have 4 or 5 good friends, then you really have some solid friendships. And I think that, and not just social media, but
Right.
social media didn't change that. But I think that a lot of people think that, I have all these friends, and they're to be put in categories and boxes, because exactly what you said, who is going to be there when the going gets rough,
Right.
right? So when the going gets rough, and I was listening to one of my mentors on YouTube the other day, and one of the things that he said is, when you're in the hospital, think about when you're in the hospital, who's going to be around that hospital bed.
That's
and
good.
and so just that alone will
Hmm.
give you an idea of when we talk about friendship. So yeah, so thank you so much. So those that are joining us, please go ahead and put your name in the chat, put in where you're from, and if you are first time here, or you are a repeat and you've been coming back to watch us here on YouTube, we so appreciate you. So I'm going to ask you a question. So if you can share a personal story about a friend who has impacted your life, and whether negative, positive, but it has impacted your life.
Wow. Okay. Um, I would say that I have one friend, and we met about 3 4 years ago, and she's such a sweetheart. When we met, I've never seen anybody do this. I've never seen anybody do this when you're meeting and building a friendship. And she told me, we met at a conference, and she said, we really connect. I would like to exchange phone numbers with you. And I said, okay, great. So we exchanged phone numbers, and on that very first call, she said, I just want to let you know that I am very intentional about friendships. She said, this is how this is going to work. And if you're on board, let me know. And she said, hey, I'm going to reciprocate. I'm going to check on you. You're going to check on me. She said, we're going to exchange information of the things that we're working on. If we can help each other, we're going to do that. But this friendship is going to be intentional. And I was thrown back. I was just like, wow. She lives in another state, and so she came down for my women's conference. She was there. I asked her to speak. She flew in. I mean, she was really there when I had lost my job and lost had a lot of losses. She was actually there for me and helped build me up. And just yesterday, I even heard from her again. So, you know what? I really, really appreciate that.
Here's what's so juicy about that part, right? Is that setting the intention right up front.
Yes.
So the intention was set right up front, so there was no ambiguity of how this is going to happen, where we're going, whatever, right? Because I can think back to relationships and intimate relationships where people are dating and you'll hear people say after a certain amount of years you're going to give somebody an ultimatum, right? That can
Right.
happen in a friendship relationship as well,
Right.
where you don't really know what we are or where we're going. But up front, she was upfront and said, this is how I roll. And if this is something you want to roll with, we can. Otherwise than that, and what is so great about that, not only she said that, but she has backed it up because as you said, she's been there for you. And that is really and truly what it's about. So it really doesn't, I hear a lot of times I'll see women, oh, I've had this childhood friend from kindergarten. But if you drill real deep down, they're not really a childhood friend since kindergarten. It's somebody that you knew since kindergarten,
Right.
right? How
Right.
deep did that go? So, yeah, I absolutely love that. And that is such a great reminder for
Mhm.
people that you can make that kind of connection, an intentional connection at any point in time. So that is really great. Now, other question, as you and her have developed this relationship, and I don't know if you guys have had any type of conflicts, but how because you guys have grown to know each other, you've grown to love one another. How do you handle conflict in that type of relationship, in your friendship relationship?
We talk about it. We are open, and we're freely to be able to talk about the conflict. I can remember a time. I'm younger than her, so she's a little older and wiser, and so she's like, I don't really like the way that you're handling this or handling that, and she will let me know up front. She said, but I'm just going to let you, this is how I perceive it. This is how I would handle it. And she goes on and to tell me that. And on the other end, I can do one or two things. I can take offense to it, or I can let that fuel me, motivate me, and move into the right direction. Or I may not agree with her, and I can say, "Hey, look, I don't agree with you. I see what you're saying, but I don't agree." And you can do that. You have to be bold and open and receptive to what other people are saying. I think that's a thing that people are not willing to do a lot of times.
Wow, I love that as well because yeah, she's showing up for you in all kinds of ways. And even going there, you're gonna have me go into another question is how do friendships contribute to personal growth and even self-awareness, because from what you're saying, here's someone that is saying to you, I don't really agree with the road that you're going down. So they've stated their opinion, and you
Mm-hmm.
may come back and you may say, well, I don't agree with you. Um, but then that's okay. And what I find is sometimes in our society, people don't know how to have healthy conflict. And
Right.
and when I say healthy conflict, just like what you just said, well, I don't agree with you. And I've always said, I don't think if someone says they don't agree with you or they may have an opinion on something, that means that the world comes to an end. And
Right.
some people can't have that type of healthy healthy dialogue, right? That type of healthy conversation. So yeah, so how, especially with your girlfriend, how do you think that contributes to personal growth, self-awareness?
I think it contributes very, very well. Because I'm very open and receptive to what she has to say. I look up to her. I love her advice, her suggestions. Sometimes we just don't necessarily agree on certain things, and that's fine. I love the fact that I've been able to grow. I've been able to grow with her, and I can come back. There are times that I have come back and I say, you know what, you was right. I didn't move this way, and this is what happened. And the beautiful thing about it is that she's still there. It's never "I told you so." It's let's keep going, let's keep moving in that right direction. I love that about her.
Yeah, I told you so. That's huge. And I think that's really why people won't be open, because of that "I told you so," right? Because that's a form of judgment. None of us want to be judged, whether it's by our friends, our family. None of us want to be judged. That's just a human element in us. And so the fact that you two have this incredible foundation, that there's none of that. And not only that, you could show up authentically and she can show up authentically, right? And I
Right.
know that word is thrown around a lot recently. But authenticity and also vulnerability, right?
Absolutely.
Those are two incredible values to have, and to be true in any type of relationship. So I absolutely love that. So let's go to connection. Why do you think human connection is so vital, and what are we losing when it's absent? So why do you think that as human beings, us connecting, why is that so important? Why is it so important for you and your girlfriend to have this type of connection?
I believe that we need that connection in order to grow. We need connections, and we need to be able to connect with other women, men, whoever. We need to be able to connect with them because that's how we grow. That's how we figure out things. And a lot of times people, they love to say no new friends, no new. But I really believe in the concept of having a true, good best friend. We need those connections. Without those connections, we are lost. You can't live in a world alone. You can't live on an island by yourself. We need each other. That's what I believe.
Absolutely. I absolutely. Connections is how we grow. That's a quote that I love, because, as I asked earlier, in terms of self growth and self awareness and growth, you just tie those two together. That's so important, right?
Right.
And who wants to stay stagnant? They might be a population of people that may want to stay stagnant,
Yeah.
and I believe that that could be over maybe past trauma, past hurt, or whatever. That they, let me just shy away. And the other day, I was having a conversation with a gentleman, and He says he's going to New York for his mom. Mom is 85, lives with his brother, and she still gets around, like, because New York is a very walkable city, so she still gets around. She has her crew, plays her different board games or games that they do.
Mm-hmm.
But and then he says on the other end is his aunt that's by herself. And he
Mm-hmm.
says she is grouchy, and he described her in some ways. And I said, there was a study done, I want to say it may have been in the 60s or the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
where they had two sets of babies. One set of babies, no one touched. The
Mm-hmm.
other set of babies was touched all the time. And the set of babies that were touched all the time, those babies thrived. And I
Yeah.
said, see, that's what's going on with your mother and your aunt. Your
Mm-hmm.
mother's living with your brother lives with your mom. It's
Mm-hmm.
that human connection that's
Yeah.
there for her, right? I mean, yeah, he can help her with some things, but he doesn't have to because she's still very independent. But it's knowing that human connection is there, that
Mm-hmm.
energy that we bring from that, right? And then you have your aunt who lives by herself and doesn't want to live with anybody and has all these other things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
human connection is absolutely vital, and connection is how we grow. So thank you for that. Is there anything else you wanted to piggyback on when it comes to connection?
I did post something the other day, and I just want to throw it out there. I think that a lot of people are now embracing the healing journey, and they want to see how they can, better themselves, how they can grow, how they can unlearn a lot of things that we were taught when we were younger. And I posted something that said, are you healed, or are you isolating yourself so that you won't be triggered by others? And I think that's a big point that we need to start to realize, because a lot of people think that they're healed, or they have moved on, or they have corrected some paths. But the reality is that they just have isolated themselves from others, just kind of like similar to the story you said about the aunt. She's isolated herself, thinking that she won't be triggered, so she won't be triggered by other people. So you don't have to deal with self. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't want to deal with themselves. We have to work on ourselves in order to be a good connection, could have a good connection, or in order to be a good friend. So you do have to do the work.
Girl, you said a mouthful there. You said a mouthful there. So some people think they are healed, but
Right.
they may be in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Woo, that is. And I hope that, people that are watching, those that come back and watch on the replay, I hope they really get that part, because and like you said, some people don't want to deal with self. A lot of that happened during the panorama, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
you had people, they were married, a lot of divorces, their
Oh,
children, they didn't want to do it with their children,
oh yeah.
because they want to do it themselves. And we I think that we do owe it to ourselves, because here's what I just heard you say. I'm saying that I'm healed, right? I'm saying that verbally, but internally, that thing ain't really sunk down. I'm just saying, giving lip service, because
Right.
at the same time, I'm saying that I'm healed, but I'm drawing away from human connection.
Right. And
That, yeah, go
and
ahead.
and here's the thing. Someone said, "Well, I am pulling back because I don't want to deal with drama. I don't want to deal with a lot of issues." But here's my thing, and I know this is a bold stance because a lot of people don't want to take the stance. My thing is state your boundary. You don't have to isolate. State your boundary. Let's start speaking up, and let's start being bold, and let's start speaking up about what we want to receive. I think so many times we revert back, and we go back in our shell, and thinking that, oh, I don't want, I just don't want to hang around it. Well, you don't have to be around it, but you can be bold and state what it is that you want, and state just like my friend did. She was able to say, hey, look, this is how it's going to go. If you're on board, let me know, you know.
You know, you and I did a live on boundaries. So when you said that, I just lit up, right? And that's so true. What are your non-negotiables? We're coming into this relationship, and it's no difference than a male female relationship, an intimate relationship. Is no different. They're all the same. And I find that, we leave out those boundaries. And here's the other part that I'm going to throw out there. Because we are family,
Mm,
right? Because we are family, we just assume that I can talk to you any kind of way, I can do you any kind of way.
right.
And especially now during the holidays, because I hear people, people will say around the holidays that, this is a tough time of year for them. And I'm not speaking about the ones that may have lost loved
Hmm.
ones. That's something totally different. I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the ones that don't want to be around their family.
Hmm.
The ones that it is this thing that they got to go through to be around their family. And I don't see family as any different.
Right.
You state your boundaries, or if you need to have a family meeting, and like you said, you got to be bold, right? So
Hmm.
if you need to have a family meeting a week before, hey, let's talk about this. But do we ever establish those type of conversations? Why? Because it may bring up some kind of conflict. And I've always said, if you can't do things in your home for me is first base.
Hmm.
After home, you can go out and do anything. So as you're talking about the isolation and not healing and the boundaries, I'm gonna take it a step far and say, well, you don't have the confidence to have those conversations with your family members,
That's it. That's it.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's why getting together for the holidays can be so whatever, because everybody got an aunt that may talk too much, or an uncle. All of us got somebody. Ain't nobody
Yeah.
family perfect, right? So
Right.
everybody got
Right.
somebody in their family that is whatever. But you said it best. State your boundaries. And
Yeah.
family is no different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
I don't know if
definitely
you want to
agree.
expand on that.
We were born into our families, right? It's not like we can't get rid of them. They are our family, so we should be able to come to them. And a lot of times they're not where we are. They're not where we are. But just like anything else, when you have a child and they're not where they are need to go, and you're cultivating that relationship. You're digging deep and you keep going. And that's sometimes what you have to do, and you have to make the judgment on your own to say, you know what, I've cultivated enough, or you know what, I have to go ahead and remove. And don't be afraid to do that. And I get that, but a lot of times we just want to throw our hands up and say, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to deal with it. But a lot of times we just need to keep cultivating the relationship.
Great point, because anyone that has a child or been around a child understands that there's a process that they go through. And I always
Right.
think about walking, right? So
Yes.
there's
Yes.
these milestones that you got to go through. So what is it like to the child is going through this? Oh my God, my child is rolling over. Oh my God, my child is crawling, right? So it's the same thing.
Yes.
So thank you for that. That was beautiful. And so as we're talking about connection, um as we talked about intimate relationships, how does social media and connection, in this day and age that we have, how does that work? And if you want to share maybe a personal story on that, please do.
You know, I love I love social media. I am they call me the queen of the social media, you know, so I'm always on different platforms. I love talking, I love expressing. And I think it's beautiful that you can do all kinds of things. Facebook has came about, and it's been out for years. I can't remember. I think it was 2000 or something like that. I can't remember, but it's been out for quite some time, and we've met people. I've met people that I've never would have met around the world. I actually met a young lady that was in Philadelphia, and she came to my conference. You know, we had never met. I went to her. We met in Georgia. You know, you can meet so many people and make these connections, and these are true, valuable connections that you can meet. I actually met my husband on TikTok. So I met him on TikTok, and I'm just doing my thing because I love to sing. I love to have fun. And he actually messaged me and he said, "Hey, you know, where are you from?" And I was like, wait a minute, is this person? But you know what? I treated him just like I treated everybody else. Thank you for the comments on my TikToks. We actually were in the same state at the time, and so we ended up, because we were 30 minutes apart. We ended up going out on a date, and we went out on that date. I mean, the date was fabulous. We had a good time, and then the next thing I know, we were taking our first trip for his birthday. We went to Florida. We went to Tampa, Florida, and we had an amazing time. And just from there, that friendship, I won't say friendship. I mean, we started to develop a friendship, and from there, we just kind of knew, like you said, it's no different from friendships and romantic relationships. You start to state what it is that you want. And hey, these are the boundaries. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. And we knew exactly what we wanted, and now I'm married. I just got married in September.
Wow. Congratulations. What a
Thank
beautiful
you.
story. What a beautiful story. And you know, a lot of times as coaches, we may say certain things, but we don't put these things into practice. And so what you just demonstrated is, I love when you say, I love social media, right? Because
Yeah.
you are right. It takes you to places that you've never been.
Right.
You know, when COVID first happened, I had never really been on social media. I mean, I had accounts, but I was never really heavily into social media. And I remember when COVID first happened in March, I want to say by August, I was speaking on platforms in Portugal and
Wow.
Australia and so many different countries. I was like, wow, this thing is amazing.
Hmm.
Right. And
Yeah.
and you meet people that you will never ever have met before.
Yeah.
Why? Like you said, you're in different states, you're in different countries. And so, yeah, so use that, and you have such a beautiful story. But let's go back to what you've said originally, right? It's about the boundaries.
Absolutely.
And why not start off this relationship, friendship, whatever? I'm sure you didn't know it would lead to marriage, but you know, start off with your boundaries. And you know, so the other, I'm going to take it in the other direction. As you and him met, even your girlfriend that you met, I know one of the things that as human nature we are afraid of is rejection.
Hmm.
So even in this world of social media and meeting different people, and us building, how do you think that, you know, handling rejection, and I'm trying to think of when I say rejection, um, well, you can tell me kind of what that looks like when you hear that word. Because, yeah, yeah, because rejection is a part of it. So we could connect or we can't, right? And so let's speak about with you and your husband.
Hmm.
So when you met and you guys were dating, and I'm sure you kind of saw where this thing was going, what would have been like if he says, well, no, Felicia, I'm not whatever. These are, you're saying this is your boundary, but for me, I don't really see that, or whatever it is. So that's in a form of rejection. How, and if you think back, how would you handle that? How could you talk about that for anyone that would be experiencing that in an intimate relationship or in a friendship? How do you think that someone will handle that?
I want to hit on a couple of points, and I hope I don't forget them. But so when I met my husband, I I was out doing my thing. I was dating. I was an avid dater. I would go out on dates. I would have a good time. And so when I met him, I explained that to him. I said, "Look, I don't want you to think that I'm not out here dating other people because I am going out on dates. That is something that's going to continue to happen. And if you have a problem with that, then that is what it is. I'm okay with that." And I was not necessarily rejecting him. I was being bold and honest and letting him know. A lot of times we like to think we're sneaking around, or I don't want them to know this or that or what have you. But I let him know that. And up front, he said, "You know what? I want you to continue to date. I want you to continue to date who you are." And I guess he knew, who he was, right? So that's how that went. And then once I got along so far, I realized that, wait a minute, okay, this person is has helped me in the time that I needed help. At the time, I didn't have a vehicle. I sold my vehicle and I had to Uber everywhere. He was helping me. He was like, "Hey, let me pick you up to go do your errands. Let me do this. Let me do that." And what I realized is that these other guys that I was actually dating were not taking initiative. They were not being, helpful. They were not doing none of those things, right? So I was able to do that. But on the flip side, I think a lot of times women think that they're all of that and a bag of chips, and that everybody has to accept them, right? Because we just think that, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm this, I'm that. And we have this boldness and this confidence. But baby, understand that they can reject you just like you reject them. And I think that's the point that a lot of women miss.
Ooh, I'm gonna have you. Let's go back to that. Baby, you beautiful in a bag of chips, right? Because I'm visualizing that if that's kind of how you think in terms of men,
Uh-huh.
um, like the red carpet is supposed to be rolled out for you every time,
Right.
right? And so, I shoot, I could choose you. I'm not gonna choose you. So basically, you got this smorgasbord of people that you can choose from. So talk a little bit about that, as and you said something great, right? I want people to understand that boldness and confidence don't have nothing to do with you thinking that you all that in a bag of chips. That's
Right.
a whole, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole separate thing, because confidence is a way of being.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily someone thinking that, oh, I'm God's gift to men, right?
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
Because I've met so many women that may operate that way when it comes to men, but their self-esteem is in the gutter,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's like these two different things, because whether or not that some women are trained that this is the only way for me to get a man, or to whatever, but there's a whole lot more to that. So yeah, so if you want to talk about that a little bit, I love that.
Okay. So, I think that we as women, excuse me, I think we as women need to really, I don't know. You know what? I think that women should have a guy friend. I think that every woman should have a real close guy friend that will guide them and tell them what men are actually thinking and doing. Because once you know that these men are talking and saying certain things, that, hey, look, they're not all about the beauty. A lot of men are looking for quality women, and they're looking for women that that are confident, that are natural. And once they strip away your makeup, once you strip away your weave, once you strip away your all of that, what do we have? And I think that a lot of women have to start to work on themselves. Just like you said, their confidence and their self-esteem and everything is in the gutter, but they do all this lip service. And let's start being that diamond. Let's start shining that diamond. Let's start being able to the remnants of all the stuff that we've been through, all the trauma, all those things. Let's start working through that and navigating through that so that you can shine, so that you can be a better person, not only for the other person, but for yourself.
Mm, the diamond. When I think of diamond, I think of a coal mine. I think of coal. I think of the roughness. I think of the dust. I think of all those things, right? And
Right.
from that, you just extrapolate this beautiful thing. And the other thing I think of is, the different points that a diamond has. So as you brought up diamond, what are some points as we're talking about connection?
Hmm.
We talk about friendship, we talk about connection, and having true connection. Strip away the weave, the makeup, the all of that, and here I am.
Right.
And here I am. And am I willing to strip away all of that and be naked in front of you
Absolutely.
to say, this is who I am? These are my boundaries. This is really the real me. And so as you help women with your diamond platform, what are some additional points that you could share so that as we're talking about connection, you're building true, authentic connections?
The woman has to be ready to be vulnerable. They have to be ready to be vulnerable. And you have to have, and we can get you there. But if you've ever know anything about a diamond, there's 4 points to a diamond. There's the clarity, there's the color, the cut, and then there's the actual carat. So in my book, I talk about the 4 points of those diamonds, and you have to know the clarity. And I just relate it to knowing what you want, knowing where you want to go. Like we stated earlier, that's those boundaries. How do we define that? We get down in the gritty of, hey, okay, this is where we need to be, and being able to vocalize that, because a lot of women that come to me, they don't have the voice. So I am helping them and moving them into getting the voice, being able to speak. And then the second thing was the cut. I'm sorry, the color. And I relate that to baggage, because we come with a lot of baggage. Everybody's going to come with baggage, but what you need to be able to do is release your baggage, manage your baggage, because we're going to always have something. How do you manage that? What does that look like? And then the third one is the cut. You have the princess cut, you have the emerald cut, you have different cuts of a diamond. What cut are you, and what are you going to cut away? What kind of cut are you going to do? So you're going to cut away negativity, you're going to cut away this trauma, this toxicity. You're going to be able to cut all those things away. And once you've done those three things, then you are able to present your diamond. I want people to know that they have a diamond. We used to talk about being on the the diamond in the rough. That's what you are. You're the diamond in the rough. And once you cultivate and once you start to strip all of that stuff away, then you become the diamond that you are, and you're able to shine.
Mm, the clarity, the color, the cut, and presenting that carrot. I
Right.
love it. And so, and thank you for sharing part of your framework with us, because I think that gives people a real solid visual of what it will be like, going through your program. And what I love about the cut is, what are you willing to cut away?
Yes.
So many times people think that coaches, mentors, whatever, are these people that's going to do the thing for me.
Right.
And no, 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 baby. No. You got to do some work.
Yeah, you got to do the work.
You got to do some work. And not only do some work, you mentioned vulnerability. You got to be vulnerable for you to actually be self-aware, for you to know what it is that you need to cut away. Because here's the thing. Felicia is your coach. She does not know the baggage that you got going on. And if you're not honest,
Right.
she can't help you formulate of how to cut that away. And so even with a coach, and I'm just thinking about this right now,
Mm-hmm.
even with a coach and a mentor, you still have to show up in a way that you're really and truly building this connection that's authentic,
Right.
right? Because, it's just like going to the doctor. If you go to the doctor and you lying and say, "Oh, I take my pills or I do
Yeah.
whatever," and your blood work come back and it ain't, doctor wondering, well, what's going on? These two things are incongruent, right?
Right.
Because you're saying one thing, but nah, not the blood work and all of that, and your weight and all of that showing a whole different thing.
Right.
So even as we talk about connection, please understand it is in the relationships that we form. And for you to get your coach or mentor to help you cut away some
Mm-hmm.
things, some of your you gotta be honest. You gotta have that connection. So I love how that just came
Yeah.
full circle
And
for that.
not only that, we think about a lot of women. Yeah, I want to cut. I want to cut this out of my life. They want to cut things. And we want to focus on the things that we need to cut out internally ourselves. I need you to cut out that bad attitude. I need you to cut out the you're not open, to receive information or criticism. You need to be able to cut that out. So not only is it that we're cutting away and we're pruning, things off, or people off and that type of thing, but you're cutting some things that you need to work on too.
That bad attitude. Oh Lord. Ooh. Mm.
A lot of people don't think that they have that. They think that they are, like I said, they think that they got it together. And a lot of times you have so much work to work on. You got so much work to do.
Especially with that attitude. Oh my goodness. That just reminds me of like customer service, right? So people think customer service is only um for the companies.
Right.
But what's how your customer service showing up?
Come on now. Come on now. How are you treating people? How are you showing up? And are you being rude every time somebody comes in and you ordering your food? How are you treating the server? You're absolutely right.
Connection again. Going back
Yes.
to connection again, right? How would some people get this exceptional service from someone and someone doesn't? And at the end of the day, as one of the questions that I started off about human connection,
Mm-hmm.
you go into a restaurant, that's a human connection, right?
Absolutely.
Your server, that's a human connection. When you stay at a hotel, human connection again. So yes, how are you showing up? And I love how we're bringing this to levels that maybe people won't understand or not understand, may not have thought about.
Talk about. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we can think about the grandeur and
Mm-hmm.
and the big, but here we're talking about how do you show up at a restaurant,
Right.
right?
How do
So
you how do you talk to your friends? How do you give them advice? How are you crass? Are you rude? Are you no? Are you giving that criticism in love? How are you showing up?
that's so good. That is so good. How are you showing up in every area, every time in your life? Now, I'll give you a story. So, my kids, especially my daughters, if they're talking to me and I may be looking at my phone or doing computer, they would say, "Mommy, look at me," and I
Mm-hmm.
have to stop and
Mm-hmm.
look at them. And I remember one time saying, I can hear you. No, I need you to stop and look at me."
Right.
And when they first started doing that, I would chuckle and smile. And they're absolutely right, right? That's their
Right.
boundary,
Right. Right.
right? That's their boundary. Either I'm going to go along with that or I'm not.
I love that you bring that up. I love that you bring that up because my daughter is about to be 22 at the end of the month. And when I tell you that we can learn so much from our children, if you let them, because we come from a generation of I'm the parent and you're going to do what I say to do. We come from that generation. But as I was training my daughter and teaching my daughter, she was also teaching me. And I
Mm,
remember a time when, you get mad, she's done something, I'm flying off the handle, I'm cussing, I'm doing whatever. And she sat down and she said, "Listen, I don't like the way you're talking to me. You're not going to be able to talk." And I was taken back. And I did. I remember talking and saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm the parent. You don't tell me." But after we've had a couple of tussles, arguments and stuff, I realized that I am wrong. And I said, "You know what? You are right. I apologize." It takes a bold and courageous thing to do, to apologize to your children. I apologize. I'm going to work on that. And that's exactly what we did. We worked on that, because it's not going to happen overnight. But one thing that you have to do is you have to be willing to be receptive to what they're saying. You have to be willing to be receptive to what people are saying. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it is you. So,
I like that. Ooh. And I know there's a lot of parents that's watching, gonna be watching, that can relate to that. And as you said, a lot of the generations come from generations of be seen and not heard, right? So,
absolutely.
I tell you what to do.
Right.
And so kudos to the children that they're basically speaking up for what they want,
Absolutely.
right? So kudos to them. And the parents that have not gotten to the point that they can listen, um, we hope that you do at some point in time and you realize, because at the end of the day, it's about how important this connection is.
Uh-huh.
So if your connection for with your children is important, then that will go a long way. My oldest daughter, I remember, she was in pre-K, and she would come home every day. She would come home and she just regurgitated her day every day. And I remember a family member would ask me, "Why does she do that every day?"
Mm-hmm.
And my first response was, "Because I want her, when she grows up and she's a full grown woman, I want her to know that she can come to her mother and have whatever conversation."
Absolutely.
And that led to college. That
Mm-hmm.
led to college. When she was in college, she would call me 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. "Mommy, I'm going to this club. Here's my location. Da, 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 da." Now, am I going to lie and say there were some times that I didn't want to know what the hell was going on?
Right.
Yeah, there were some times I did not.
Right.
However, based on setting that foundation very early on, was able to cultivate and maintain that connection. And that's so important. Don't think because they're your children, they have to. They don't. Because I'm sure women that have children and they children don't mess with them, right? And
Right.
so if you have children and your children are bothering with you, might want to go back in time and see how you can fix that connection, because
Yes.
there's definitely there's definitely something that happened that broke that connection,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? So
Yes.
yeah. So as we get ready to wind down, this has been such a great conversation. We talked about friendship, connection, and how those two really, really and truly evolve. So I want to touch on a question about community. Community is another thing that you hear that all the time. People talk about community, and as Black people, we understand community from growing up. So your community, your neighborhood, your family, we understand community as that. And I think many years ago, I want to say maybe it was Hillary Clinton that wrote a book, It Takes a Village to Raise a Child. And that's just not really just with a child, it takes a village, period, right?
Yes.
In anything that you do, as you mentioned with your husband, you didn't have a car, come pick you up, take you do these different things. So all of that is part of community. So what role do you think community plays in helping people feel seen, heard, and valued?
You know, you I think it takes a plays a big role in the community. It takes everybody, right? It takes all hands on deck, to be able to say, you know what, we're going to help each other, and you got to be willing to do it. I think that we live in a day and time. I was just talking to my husband last night, and we just live in a day and time where people are just separating themselves from everybody. They're me and my little family, and that's just what it is. And I think he was trying to invite some people out because we're getting ready to go to a comedy show, and he said, "Well, nobody responded." And I said, we need community. We need to start getting out and start doing what we used to do. We used to be able to go different places. We used to have a whole community of going to the park and going to, do several things. So I think it plays a big role, and I think we got to get back to that. I think that we have separated ourselves so much. Let's get back to helping each other. And I think it's been such a I think people are strained. They're tired, but I think that if we continue to have talks like that we're having right now, we continue to make people self-aware. I think that we can bring community back together.
Here's, as we've been talking about so many different things and really bringing it down to micro levels and not really these massive things. And even in what you just said, where your husband was inviting people out for us to go to this comedy show, that's building that community,
Right.
right? And so community doesn't necessarily have to be these hundreds and thousands of people.
Right.
It's what is this little nucleus that we're building? How are we building something for us to get to know one another, for us to have fun with each other, for us to contribute to each other's lives? That really is community. So I'm glad that you brought that up. So that was able for us to kind of tie that in together
Hmm.
so that people do understand that friendship, connection, community is so important. And community does not have to be thousands of people. Your
Right.
community is just inviting some people out for a barbecue,
Right.
or it's the holidays now. And
Right.
if you know, as we talk about connection, if you know someone that may be by themselves and hopefully they're not self isolating, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna go somewhere with that self isolating.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes some people can be playing the victim,
Right.
and I'm a self isolate to see who gonna check up on me,
Hmm. Hmm.
or who going what, or who, you know what I'm saying? Who is
Right.
going to whatever. But I'm one that I believe is what the Bible says. You have not because you ask not,
Right.
right? And so I get checking up on, but at the same time, if you are someone that may live by yourself, you're by yourself, and you want to be in community, you want to go out with somebody, you
Hmm.
want to, let's go to the movies, have dinner, you want to do those things. If you keep all that stuff to yourself as a secret, all that stuff gonna stay with yourself as a secret.
Right. 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 You're
Who, who
absolutely
who's gonna know? Who's going to
Who's
know?
gonna know?
Right? So at the same time as we're talking about these things, a lot of this is really on us, on
Come on
you,
now. Come on
right?
now.
On
It is
us,
on us.
on you, for you to open your mouth and speak. Now, we talked about rejection. And
Mm-hmm.
so as you're doing that, don't look that if somebody is not going to go along with that, that they're rejecting. That may just not be your people, right? But that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that now, oh, I'm just going to go back and revert and I'm just going to be a hermit.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it moving forward because we
Yeah.
need connection. We need one another. We need to be in community.
You brought up a good point because, I can remember um, whether it's going through certain things, like a divorce, or I also remember when my daughter was suicidal. I remember when I was suicidal. I remember the one thing that I just could not I had to keep open and keep an open mind was when people reach out to you and say, how are you doing? What can I do? We are reaching, we are trying to help, but you have to be able to receive it.
Mm.
You got to be able to receive it. And don't be sitting up here talking about people ain't checking on me. People ain't, I mean, now we do have to do some work, okay? As individuals, we do have to do some work when it comes to mental health, when it comes to checking on people and doing things. The one thing that I just cannot get over is let me know if you need something. Uh-uh. We have to stop doing that. We have to stop doing that. Go pick up the phone and check on them. Call them. The other person has to be able to receive the phone call. You have to be able to receive what I'm going to give. Stop saying, well, let me know what you need. Let me know. And I think that we've been conditioned to say this so many times that it's just absolutely I just absolutely don't like it. I don't like it because when I was going through those things, when you're going through something, you are not going to ask for help. A lot of people are not going to ask for help. They want help, but you're gonna have to show up in a manner. So I can remember I was sick and I ended through COVID, and I'll make it real quick. But through COVID, I ended up taking the shot and ended up with Bell palsy. And I was on the video telling people that I had Bell palsy and all this stuff, and that I was sick. And people were saying, "Well, let me know if you need anything." Of course, what do I need? I don't need nothing. I mean, you can't do nothing. But one friend, she said, "Hey, look, I cooked. I'm bringing you over some food." And I received that food. You understand what I'm saying? You got to be able to just show up for people.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Here's the word I know when I say this word, you're gonna know what the heck I'm talking about. Everybody gonna know what I'm talking about. How you doing? I'm fine.
Right. Right. And I
That's
wrote a
me.
book. I wrote a book on that. I wrote a book on
You
I'm
did.
Fine. I did. I wrote a book. It's called I'm Fine, A Woman's Silent Cry.
Woo. Is it on Amazon? How can the people
It,
get it?
it is on Amazon.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's on Amazon.
Y'all go out to Amazon and get that book. I'm fine. A Woman's Cry. That is well said. I'm gonna go out and get that book. That is well said because to me, that's the kiss of death. You are silently drowning, but
Yeah.
it's just an automatic, it's an autoresponder.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you'll send an email or send some, you get this autoresponder. It's
Yeah.
an autoresponder. I'm fine. And
Hmm.
know deep down inside that you're dying
Yeah.
because you're not in the position to receive,
Absolutely.
right? And oh my gosh, what a great way to wrap this up in this beautiful bow of being able to receive and understand the connection, the friendship, and the community, because these things can be out there for you. But if
Hmm.
you're not ready, able, know how to, then you're not going to be a recipient of this. And let me just say this part, because of past hurt, trauma, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
there's simple communication that each and every one of us have. And you could clearly just say, you know something, Felicia, I don't know how to receive that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do with that. Just simple that alone,
Right.
right? So
Right.
we're not saying that you're at this level that, oh my God, somebody asked me how I am, and I'm gonna tell them, and nobody is telling them to regurgitate your entire life, right? Nobody's telling you that. But
Right.
what we are saying is that how important that connection is. You think of a magnet, and you think that you purchase this magnet and you're going to put it on your fridge, or you're going to put it on something that automatically, when you put it on, it just
Mm-hmm.
attaches. That's that
Right.
connection.
Right.
And with batteries, that's that connection. And that's what we're talking about: human connection with one another. And I don't want nothing from you.
Right.
I don't need nothing from you, but I do. Let me back up. Let me back up. I'm not looking for anything tangible from you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What I am looking for is that human connection.
Connection.
And
Yeah.
what I am looking for is a way that we can serve either one another or serve and have impact in the world. Oof, love
That's
it.
it. That's it.
Love it. What a great way to wrap that up. Thank you so much for that. And as we get ready to close, is there anything you have coming up, or anything that you want to share with the people?
Yeah, I absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I loved it. We had a great time. I actually have a girls' talk coming up on the 18th. So I'm super excited about that, where me and my girlfriend, we're just going to wrap. I've been doing the friendship series. So we're just going to wrap up and talk about a little bit of everything. So join us on the 18th on Facebook Live. You can do that. And then in the works, I'll keep you guys updated. We're getting ready to have a friendship conference. So I'm going to be working on that and pulling all of that together. So thank you so much, Leslie. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for accepting the invitation. And my God, we just had some great talk. And keep us updated on that friendship conference. Would
Absolutely.
really and truly love to be an attendee, be part of that. So definitely keep us updated on that. So uh sparklers, thank you all for joining. For those of you that are coming back and watching the replay, put in hashtag replay. Let us know where you're watching from. Drop any comments for Felicia. She'll go back and take a look at that. And also share with us, what is a takeaway that you received from today? Is something that we said in our dialogue that kind of sparked something from you, hence Mosaic Sparks, that kind of sparked something for you, and maybe get you thinking about something that you've never thought about. And as I shared, was we were sharing earlier, it's not about the big macro, right? It is about bringing things down to a micro level. How are you showing up when you walk into the gas station? You're going to go get some gas, or you picking up some chips, or you doing whatever. How are you with that attendant?
Mhm.
Right? How are you when you're in the grocery store and the person's bagging you up, or the person, the cashier? How are you in those micro mini moments that you
Mhm.
have all the time? How are you
Right.
showing up? So thank you so much, Felicia. As we talked about friendship, connection, and community for each and every one of us, that is so important. So as we get ready to close out, we'll see you back in 2 weeks. Won't be here for Christmas, but for everyone, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, Happy Kwanzaa, all of those things that are in between. Spend time with friends and family, and don't forget the boundaries when you're around family, so that you don't feel that you may be triggered. So bye for now. We will see you then. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Bye bye.